Hello everybody. So tonight's session, instead of the usual Thrive Thursday session that I often do in the day, we have our How to Talk So Your Child Listens Masterclass this evening. So hello. I'm hoping some people come and join me live. That would be amazing. As you come on, please say hello. Let me know where you're joining me from and how many children you have. That would be really great. So where you're joining from and how many children you have. So for those who are new to the group, hi Linda, lovely to see you. For those who are new to the group, I'm Sarah Parks and I live in Edinburgh and I have two children. I have Freya, who is 13 now, and Phoebe, who is 9. And I have a poorly child today, so yeah, Phoebe's not very well today. So she's been off school and with a cold and a runny nose and cough and all the rest of it, and she was asleep by like 7:30. So yeah, which is amazing for her. She's not usually asleep that early, so but she's poorly. And I'm a bit this evening, so she may have passed something on to me. But anyway, I am here. My voice is still with me, so we're all good to go. So in the comments, let us know where you're tuning in from and how many children you have. What are their ages? So pop that in the chat, and if you're watching the replay, please put #replay and do join in. Even if you're on the replay, that would be fantastic. So like I say, I've got some slides here. I wanted to stream them into here, but technology was not on my side today, so that's all good. I do have them here so I can refer to them, so that's really cool. So you're in the right place if you feel like you have to repeat yourself all the time and it's driving you mad. If your child lashes out verbally or physically and you want to help them find other ways of expressing their emotions, that is, yeah. And if you ever feel like you're not sure what to do, and you could do with some guidance, you're not quite sure how to handle things. And most importantly, that you want to parent in gentle and conscious ways, using those kind of approaches. But sometimes don't quite manage that and end up shouting and feeling bad about it because it's out of line with how you really want to be parenting. So Linda, hi Linda. So you have one 3-year-old boy from Edinburgh. Yay, great to have you here. And nice to know you're here as well in Edinburgh with me. Yay. So this isn't for you, and actually this group isn't for you. If you are more into kind of a more traditional authoritarian kind of way of parenting, and think, gentle approaches are, being a bit too soft on your kids. So this group isn't for you. This isn't for you. And if you're looking for like a quick fix for the challenges that you might have with your children as well, change takes time. So and some consistency. And then we can get changes in a relatively quick period of time sometimes as well. We see improvements, but the longer term change and embedding things tends to take a little bit longer, so over a period of time. So tonight, my intention is to share some things tonight that will support you, some nuggets for you to take away. Let's have a look. Yeah, so I'm going to be sharing some common pitfalls that people fall into when you're trying to get your children to listen, and the 6-step process that hundreds of parents have used, and I've supported them to use to have a calmer, happier family life. So that's what I'm going through tonight. So for those who don't know me, I've let you know where I'm based, here in Edinburgh, and I am a parenting and legacy coach. So I help people use gentle, conscious parenting approaches to have a calmer, happier family life, basically. And I've been doing this for 12 years. So since my eldest was 1. And for me, I'm a accredited coach as well. I'm a relational dynamics coach, and I've been working with communication for over 20 years. So for me, when I had my children, it was kind of a natural progression to share the skills that I have been using and finding really helpful for myself with other people. And I came across the How to Talk So Kids Will Listen skills, and I love them. They were skills that I'd already been using in corporate settings and other settings, but I love this honing it into using with our children, like how to use these things with our children, which is just fantastic. So I became very passionate about them very quickly and noticed, the huge difference it was making for me and other people. So now I offer courses 1-to-1. I work 2-to-1 with couples as well, to help them transform their family lives, help things be happier, calmer, but ultimately to be able to create the kind of parenting legacy that you truly desire. So a lot of people want to parent, who come to this group, want to parent in different ways to how they were probably parented. I know for me, certainly, my parents didn't really have parenting skills that were passed on to them, other than what you get generally from society, which was very much this kind of old style model of, children should be seen and not heard. And, you have to kind of punish and control, which actually they didn't want to be using, but they didn't know what else. They didn't know anything else and hadn't been given anything else from their parents, because we're not taught this stuff, And so, I think it's great and amazing to be able to have a space where you can learn these things. So, I'm passionate about sharing these skills with families because they are huge and make a massive difference. And the thing is, there's an assumption that we should automatically know this. Like, we wouldn't assume we can automatically do any other job. You wouldn't automatically assume you could walk into the hospital and do surgery, or you wouldn't assume you can go and I wouldn't assume I can walk into Tesco's and I was going to say work the tills, but to be honest, we all have to do self-service these days, don't we? So a lot of us know how to do that now. But, a few years ago, I didn't have a clue how to do that stuff. So, yeah. And yet, there's this assumption that we should somehow know naturally, somehow, how to be a good parent, a gentle parent, and there's a lot of pressure to get it right with very little guidance, which seems very unfair to me, really. So these skills that I share, that I'm very passionate about, have helped me in lots of ways. So for me, from helping me through long-term sleep deprivation when my children were really young, through dealing with severe allergies. So, sometimes in life there are things that you can't do anything about physically, and so being able to navigate those things was really huge for me. Helped me with managing sibling relationships. They've given me clear kind of strategies for managing unwanted habits with myself, with my children. Having ways of, because this is the thing, and I'm going to talk about this evening through this masterclass, is we often think, and this is a mindset piece, that we can just stop doing something. We can stop a behavior, and we don't really work like that. We can't often just stop something because we're doing that thing for a reason. We're doing things that way for a reason. But what we can do is replace something that isn't working so well for us with something that works better. So to kind of think of it in those terms. Yeah. So these, and for me, when with these skills, when my girls have got on really well, and when my youngest started kind of hitting and punching and biting and stuff, I was like, oh, I really needed to practice what I was preaching with other people and really, use these skills. And when the whole COVID situation, pandemic came up and we were having to homeschool and everything, again, it was another time when it's really helped to have these incredible tools. So I am massively grateful for myself and my family. I use these tools all the time on a day-to-day basis. So it's not something that I just share with other people and kind of teach, but it's something I am living and breathing and practicing myself. So tonight, I'm going to go through 4 common pitfalls that people fall into when we're trying to we want our children to listen. And I know lots of people have joined in, come to this group because, it can feel like you're talking to a brick wall, or like they're ignoring you, or it can feel like, it can feel like they just don't listen. There's a lady who joined the group recently who said she feels like her toddler ignores like 90% of what she says. So knowing how to do that, how to talk so that they pay attention, so that they listen, so that you reach them. Okay, so I'm going to take you through some of the pitfalls so that you can avoid those, so you can stop doing those, and but not stop doing them actually, so you can replace those with things that are more helpful. And I will be sharing with every pitfall I share. I'm going to share a skill that you can replace that pitfall with. Okay. And those who want to go deeper with me, you can do that. And I'll tell you towards the end how you can do that, about the course, the 7-week program I've got coming up, which can, if you want guidance, you can join me for that. Okay, so when we want our children to listen, often the first pitfall that people fall into is forgetting to listen first. So, being that example, if we want our children to behave in a certain way, they copy everything we do. They don't necessarily do what we say, they do what we do. So providing that for them initially, so that they can know how to do things, so being that example for them. So what does it look like when we forget to listen first? So we can come straight in to sort out what is happening, or stop the behavior that we don't want to have. We can end up asking lots of questions. We can end up denying their feelings, saying things like, if they say, I'm hungry, right? And they've just had dinner, and you might say something like, well, you can't possibly be hungry, you've just eaten, So that is what we call kind of denying their feelings. So we want to kind of replace that with other ways of responding, and using listening, using empathy skills. And I'm going to talk a bit about that in a moment. Another example is, last week I was going through Off to School with Ease, where we were looking at the kind of foundational skills that I will talk a bit more about, of the skills that I share, and that has to happen first before you try and do anything else. yeah, so one of these, like if they say, I don't want to go to school, but you'll have a good time when you get there. Or I don't want to go to the party, but you'll have a good time when you get there, which is probably true, but it's not how they're feeling in that moment, you know? So, so when you start listening, you create a space where the child feels understood and feels heard, feels like you get them. When we don't listen, when we deny their feelings, for instance, or we ask questions or, you know, other things, we add fuel to the fire of their upset, basically. So they feel like, oh, you don't understand me. And, you know, they get more angry. So it fuels the upset. And it does take some consistency to bring that empathy, bring that listening, which is why practicing this over time. So last week I was working with people over a week to kind of practice these foundational skills. And when you do that, you see some changes, you know, quite relatively quickly. You know, I'm talking within 5 days, you know. So I've got something to share. So Debbie tried out this, because I know it can sound really simple, can sound really straightforward and really simple, and like, well, that can't possibly work, but it really does. And so when Debbie tried this out, she shared, so they've been having a lot of big emotions coming up, a lot of upset coming up, and finding it hard to deal with. And she shared, we had quite a good day. He did get annoyed at being told no for something. And, you know, often let me know in the comments if your child doesn't like being told no. That can be a real red rag to a bull, can't it, sometimes? And I do share some skills around alternatives to no, for instance. But let me know in the comments if your child, that's one of the things that kind of makes them kind of blow up a bit. Yeah, so yeah, he was annoyed at being told no for something, and I never said anything. I just let him shout. He went and calmed down and actually came back into the room and said sorry without any prompting. That's huge, isn't it? And at bedtime, he was asleep half an hour earlier than usual. So, you know, these shifts, yeah, so Dandy's saying, yeah, the word no is a red rag. Yeah, it can be. And when you have other strategies for that, and using these foundational skills, you're able to calm things. You're able to, instead of what I call adding fuel to the fire, instead of it escalating, it de-escalates the situation. Yeah. So, and Amy shared, my daughter's been so good today, wanting to make mummy happy. There have been some meltdown moments, but they have been resolved quite quickly with me remaining calm and working through the stages. So this is the thing, when you have clear steps, a clear structure to support you, because remember, we don't automatically know how to do this stuff, right? So when you have these tools in your toolkit, it helps you be more confident. It helps you be more calm, because you can then hold them through that, you know? So pitfall number 2 is punishment. So punishing our children when they don't listen. And so, you know, things like timeouts and naughty steps. So this is another kind of pitfall that can add fuel to the fire, because instead of them feeling sorry, it leads to them hiding and lying about what they've done, and worse still, fantasies of revenge. So, you know, punishment is usually, the aim of it is so that they feel sorry, right? But it doesn't have that effect, you know? So why do people use those methods? Well, that's the old traditional way, isn't it? That's the way, what we were brought up with, threats and punishment and control, right? And your health visitor might have said to use timeouts or use a naughty step to try and rewards and punishment to try and control your child. And sometimes they do work to a certain degree, and in the short term, often they don't. So let me know in the comments if you've tried using these methods, and let me know if they worked, or let me know if they didn't work. And there's no judgment about, we've all tried lots of different things. And let's face it, when we want our child to listen, and things aren't working, sometimes we'll try all kinds of things, I sometimes have fantasies of revenge. Yeah, exactly. Well, it can feel really unfair, can feel really unfair. And like when we don't feel listened to and feel heard, yeah, that can definitely bring up some fantasies of revenge for sure. So there's a cost to using timeouts and naughty steps. So instead of them thinking about how they can make amends or about thinking about what they've done, the child becomes focused on how they can get away with it again in the future, or how unfair it is, or how they're being treated, and it can lead to a bit of a negative cycle. So that's why, it's best to avoid that. So when we replace those using rewards and punishment and timeouts and naughty steps, so during my course, I take people through 6 ways of dealing with this. One of them is to show them how they can make amends, how they can make things better, and another one is offering a choice, offering them a choice. So those are 2 things that you can replace those things with. And there's, like I say, there's kind of 6 different ways that we go through in the course, and we go into detail in depth, and we look at your specific situation so that you can look at how you would apply that to your specific situation. Debbie's saying, I get triggered and punishments now result in my daughter 7 saying, I don't care. Yeah. So they can end up doing that, can't they? They can end up going, well, I don't care what you do to me. So having other ways of dealing with that. So it's a lose-lose, and what we want is a win-win, not a lose-lose. So you don't feel great, she doesn't feel great. And what we want is to find methods that leave us feeling better about ourselves and our children feeling better about themselves, So another common pitfall that people fall into with gentle and conscious parenting approaches is having no boundaries, right? And the way that we have traditionally been shown how to do boundaries is by doing this punishment business, right? And so some people can go the other way and think that accepting their feelings means that they have to accept all the behavior. Now, this is huge. This is so important. There's a distinction between accepting feelings, and that's different. Understanding, having empathy for how our children are feeling is different from accepting their behavior. So that is such an important distinction, because I think one of the things that gets in the way of us accepting their feelings is that, and acknowledging their feelings, is that we feel like we will be agreeing with them, or will be saying that behavior is okay, and they are distinct. And, in the face of also maybe other people having different ideas of how to approach parenting. Sometimes we might have a partner or one of our parents who support us who think we're being too soft, for instance. I've lost my train of thought there, but yeah. So one of them, so these boundaries, having firm, loving boundaries. So it's really important to understand that distinction between accepting feelings, and doesn't mean you're agreeing with behavior. So, and when we fall into this this kind of trap, this pitfall of being really permissive because we feel like we have to kind of say yes to everything, you know, and so there aren't those firm, loving boundaries, it can lead to the child pushing the limits to the extreme because they need a boundary. They actually need to feel held. Children can become physically aggressive, they can lash out, swearing, hitting, and all this kind of thing. And you know, as parents, that's kind of a part of our job, is to hold those loving, firm boundaries, to be the leader in the family, and part of their job is to push against those boundaries. And you know, often I think that a lot of the reason why people struggle with this is because we want to be liked, you know, we want to be our child's friend, we want to be liked, and there's times when we need to hold a boundary. There are times when we need to say no. And, you know, there are amazing skills to, you know, not unnecessarily add fuel to the fire and all of that stuff. And there are times when we do need to say no, and we can do that in kind, loving ways. But there are going to be times when our children don't like it and they're going to get upset, you know. And what I feel is when people have this great toolkit of skills, you're able to do that from a really confident place, you know. So yeah, so when we have these clear boundaries, our children actually feel more held, they feel safer, even if they don't like it, you know. And so there are a couple of ways that we can do that. There's quite a few ways that we do that within the program that I share. But one of them is, you know, expressing how you feel kind of strongly without attacking the child's character. You know, so you might say something like, you know, I feel upset. I don't like people being hurt, you know, when your child's taking things too far, you know. So it's okay to say things that your child are not going to like sometimes, you know, and I know that's a tricky part of this job as a parent. Let me know in the comments if that's something you find tricky. Hi Tony, lovely to see you. Let me know if that's something that you find tricky. And I know I've just got an example here on my screen. I wasn't Dandy saying this pitfall is my problem. Yeah, and getting the balance right for ourselves can be tricky. But I think having this kind of toolkit of skills really helps you confidently do that, you know. Yeah, instead of, yeah, well, I suppose when we feel less confident or we don't have the tools, you know, to use at our fingertips, then we can end up being really permissive and then, you know, flipping the other way and becoming quite authoritarian, and then we feel bad, they feel bad, you know, and we can end up hi Anne, parenting in, you know, shouting and doing things that we being in ways that we don't want to be, you know. And so I had a lady who went through one of my courses, and she was really struggling. Her son was really, really pushing boundaries a lot. He really reacted a lot to being told no. And he does have ADHD, and, you know, so there's all this stuff going on. And when these tools clicked for her, it was huge. You know, she said, we've got such a calmer house and we're happier. Before they were bickering all the time, and now I I can't remember the last time that they were arguing. He was smashing up his room and stuff and finding things very difficult. And she was able to help him calm down. She was able to help, and her daughter started mirroring the great skills she'd been using and helping her with her son as well. So, I mean, yeah, it was just huge changes with that particular family. And the last pitfall is we try and stop the undesirable behavior. You know, and this is what Keely had been doing before she learned these skills. So, and so what that looks like when you're trying to stop the undesirable behavior is we tell them not to do it over and over again and nothing changes. So let me know in the comments if you've ever done that, where you've told them, don't do that, stop that. Why don't you do it like this? And, you know, so telling them what to do or what not to do. Okay. And we can feel like a broken record and get really frustrated, which leads to us feeling powerless, and they keep doing the same thing and get angry and yeah, they feel powerless to change it because they feel a compulsion to do some of this stuff as well, particularly with this lady's son, you know, because it's meeting a need, you know. And this is the thing, we don't realize that when our child is meeting their needs with a certain behavior, they can't just stop. The need is still there, right? So we have to replace it rather than just stop the behavior. So it's the same with us. We have to replace our behavior, but also we help and guide our children to meet their needs in different ways. So what we can do is we can come up with ideas together of what they can do instead, because, you know, it's hard for us to, you know, firstly recognize what we're doing, and that's the first part, is having this awareness, recognize what's not working, and then what we can change it with that does work, that's tried and tested, that we can change it with, and then practice doing that. And we learn within my 7-week course how to support our children with approaching things differently for themselves, and give them an opportunity to practice as well before they're in the situation, rather than just telling them, don't do that, you know, stop doing that. Like they don't know what they can do instead to meet that need. So does that make sense? Let me know in the comments if that's making sense to you. So the way in which I support parents to do this, and a way that I've got coming up that I said I would tell you about, is my there's 6-part process that I take people through in when people do the How to Talk So Kids Will Listen group coaching program. So we go through these kind of 6 sets of skills. So it's not 6 skills, it's 6 sets of skills. Okay. So in the first week, we go through this foundational skill, which is so important, helping them to deal with their feelings, helping our children to express their feelings, feel seen, feel heard, and for those feelings to move through. It is such an important foundational step. And often when skills aren't working, it's because people miss that first foundational step and try and skip forward to trying to get our children to kind of cooperate and do things. But we need to have that first step in there, that first part, the empathy. And there's and so last week in Off to School with Ease, I was taking people through in detail those empathy skills and how to apply them to their situation. And I do that in my 4 steps to help your child manage their big emotions course as well. That is really honing in on those foundational steps. We cover that in week 1, and then in week 2, then we can go into, when we've got that under our belt, we can go into the cooperation skills, a whole set of skills to help with the day-to-day stuff, the getting up in the morning, getting them to clean their teeth, eat their food, go to bed, and get a good night's sleep, all the things, get up and out, and with those transition times, all of that, so that's that set of skills. And then in the 3rd week, we do alternatives to punishment. So we look at, well, what can we do instead of rewarding and punishing our children? And we dive into that. And then the 4th kind of set of skills is encouraging autonomy. So that is really helping our children be independent, helping them step into that. And for me right now, there's another level of independence happening for both of my children, but particularly my teenager. Her comfort with being away from us has massively extended, and can be quite challenging for my husband and I, when she's off on the bus somewhere with her friends and that kind of thing, that's quite challenging. And in week 5, we look at praise and ways of praising that really work. And then in week 6, we do look at all of the skills, really, bring them together in this self-image, our self-image as parents, and getting freedom around what it means for us to be a parent, how we want to parent, but also freedom from particular roles that our children may have found themselves in, like the clever one, or the big sister, or the little sister or brother, or these roles that they can have that might, and look at ways in which they might not necessarily serve them, and what we can do about that. So it's this whole self-image piece. So it's a beautiful process that we go through, and then we bring it all together and sort of have some time for integration and evaluation in the final week. So it's an incredible process that I've been taking people through for 12 years. I did the very first group, in which I had a child psychologist actually in my very first group. I've had a couple of child psychologists do my courses, because what happens with this as well, it's great for us as parents. If you also work in a school, or you work with early years, or you work in any capacity with young people, parents, or other human beings, actually, the skills that you learn here will impact all of your relationships. They'll impact your relationships with your partner. They'll impact the relationships at work, with your parents, it is, I'm actually, it's lovely I'm so glad I'm doing this, because it's reminding me how huge this is, how valuable this is, and what a transformation people go on over this 7-week program. So if you are wanting to have support to learn this toolkit of skills so that you can have a calmer, happier family life, and have these incredible skills and resources and this toolkit to use forevermore in all of your relationships, actually, but particularly with your child. We'll be focusing on your child, but it's going to ripple out. The ripple effect just happens naturally and is always the unexpected part. I'll just share with you, Trina did one of my courses, and we went through all of these skills, and actually more in the one that she did. And I decided that this was the first real possibility on helping me to be a better mum, and I signed up. Sarah is lovely, calm, knowledgeable, empathetic and supportive. Sarah can think on her feet and give advice to all and any parenting situation. So she's referring to I'll tell you a bit about how the course runs. We have a weekly group coaching session, and in that I coach each person around their situation, and it's a group session, which is great because invariably if you have a question, somebody else will also have a similar thing going on, so it's beneficial for everybody. And that's the power of being in a group. You kind of sometimes kind of get more coaching in a group than one-to-one, because you get all of everybody's coaching, if that makes sense. And she said, there's no way without the group I could have ever made changes to my parenting. I would highly recommend Sarah's course and would also suggesting it for any age child. Thank you, Sarah, for helping me with the hardest job anyone could ever have. And it was so beautiful to see the transformation for her. And she had been in this situation where she was literally trawling the internet, trying to find answers. She was going, listening to podcasts, signing up for free things, and she made the leap. She made the commitment in terms of time, and there is obviously a financial investment. And what I think is fantastic about this is you get back far more than you invest. In terms of the time and the money that you invest, you get back far more, and you get, like I say, this toolkit of skills that you can use forevermore, and I think that is priceless. I remember a lady who did one of the first courses I did here in Edinburgh. I was used to do them in Leeds when I lived there as well. And I remember her saying, because she had read the How to Talk So Kids Will Listen book, right? And she was like, she said, this is amazing. This is the only way to get what there is from those books, to really get it. Because reading a book and doing this program is just completely different. It's like reading about what Paris is like and actually going there and smelling it and experiencing it and drinking it all in. It's not the same as just reading about it, right? So that's kind of the difference. So yeah, so often people worry about the time commitment, and let me know if anybody's got any questions about the course. I have my next How to Talk So Kids Will Listen course starting on Thursday, so it's a week today, the 22nd of the 9th, 22922. That's when we'll be starting, focusing on the first module. Now you get access to the teaching and the modules and stuff in a portal, so you can watch those in your own time. You can listen to them, you can watch them, you can do it over and over to kind of embed that. And the way I work with all my courses is you learn some skills and then you go straight off. They're really practical, really interactive, so you can listen to a video and then you can start using them straight away that day. You can start using those skills, practicing those skills, and you do that for a few days, trying stuff out, seeing how it works for you. And then at the coaching session, which I do, the coaching sessions are on a Monday night, apart from the Halloween Monday when it's be on the Sunday night. And then we get to hone them. And if you can't make the coaching session, you can send your question. I'll cover it in the session. They're all recorded, so you get to watch them. So if you don't manage to make it live, you still get the support. And then there's also support in an intimate group, which I'm hosting on Telegram. So because there are some people in the group who are on Facebook, so that's a really intimate, so it's on an app on your phone, so it's really intimate and private. So in there is where we'll have our discussions in between, so you haven't got to wait a whole week to ask a question. You can go in there, and bounce ideas off against each other and all of that. So yeah, it's exciting. So I'm really looking forward to those who come and take part in this. I'm so excited. So for anybody who is wanting to take part, the investment for the course is £555. And for those who jump on board in the next 24 hours, I'm going to also give a bonus of a free one-to-one laser coaching session for those who come on board and do this in the next 24 hours. So I want to really reward people who are taking action and jumping into this. If you have any questions and you want to really understand and know, will this help me in my specific situation, then you can book a call with me to get really clear. And in that call, we talk about where you are at the minute, what exactly is going on, and we look at if it's going to be the right fit. If it's not the right fit for you, and I think something else is going to be more helpful for you at this time, I will let you know and refer you to somebody within my network of experts and professionals that I can pass you on to as well, if it's not the right fit. So I will tell you, and it's no hard sell or pressure or anything like that. It's really for you to get your questions answered and check in and see if it's the right fit. So if you would like the link, let me know and I can share the link with you. So you can send me a message, a DM, and ask for the link to register if you want to join. Or if you've got questions, I will send you the link to book a call with me. And I have a couple of spaces tomorrow if anybody is wanting to have a chat with me tomorrow. And if you have questions and you're thinking, well, I would like to take advantage of that bonus, as long as you've booked your call, I will honor that bonus for you, if you're coming on board with that. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to share this evening with you. So I hope you got some real nuggets from this tonight. I love to hear, what is your biggest takeaway from this session tonight? Let me know in the comments. I would love to see that. So let me know what your biggest takeaway is. And have a really good night, everybody. And I look forward to journeying with those who are going to be diving deeper. I know Anne's going to be doing the course with us, and I'm really excited for the beautiful group that we have. All right, so, hi Emma, I think you've literally just come on. I'm just finishing up, so you'll need to go back. It'll be here on the replay, so you can watch it back. So I'm going to head off now. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.